What, we some kind of Suicide Squad?
I am Iron Man.
You are a toy!
I live my life a quarter mile at a time.
Server Anakin! I have the high ground!
I'm gonna steal the Declaration of Independence.
I'm simply saying that life, finds a way.
Welcome back to the Big Movie Boys podcast, the only podcast to successfully tear down the Berlin Wall. I'm your host, Jeremy Bauman, and with me as always is Bob Liebel.
What's up, everybody?
And Ben Stitch.
What's going on, boys? I don't know about you guys this week, but I'm coming into this pod a little angry. And I'll tell you what, this is because the listeners might not know this, but podcasting is only the second lamest thing that us trio does together. The first being we like to froth, otherwise known as disc golf, otherwise known as clanking chains.
Clanking chains. I think like is an underplaying it, Ben. I would say we love
froth, and it's just another way to get our actual habit of drinking out in the open, where we're not just doing it by ourselves and in a basement. So, but I didn't know that people actually make money from froth. And this guy named Paul Macbeth, I don't know if he's related to Lady. Yeah, he's 10-year. This is his contract for froth. 10-year. $10 million. And I don't know, I could probably look more into this. I'm not going to because it actually bums me out. Who's giving him this money? How is he making anyone money? But who's watching froth?
I looked into this a little more, Ben, because I was also, when I saw it, I almost shit my fucking pants. So, also, Paul Macbeth is also widely considered the Michael Jordan of disc golf. I just want you to know that. Anyways, I guess like his He had like a sponsored disc or whatever company, like U-Disc or disc, whatever. He's got like a disc sponsor, and then the disc he made them so much money, like the disc with his name on it, like his pro model disc, made them so much money. They're like, holy fuck, dude, this guy's just putting money in our damn pockets. Let's sign him to like a major deal. And apparently in disc golf, this is about as major of a deal as you can get. Because I thought the highest paid disc golf player made like $45,000 a year. So
at his day job.
Crazy.
At his day job, and then went and played froth after work. That's what I thought happened.
Like, are we in the wrong like wheelhouse, dude? Like, should we be trying to become pro disc golf players?
I was thinking about this, Bob. I was like, if you just quit your job and dedicated 40 hours a week to disc golf, don't you think you'd get really?
My liver would be done.
I don't think the pros drink as much as you guys do when we're frothing.
No, we should remind the fans that one of the rules of disc golf is you must at least consume one beer per 9 holes. So you have to drink at least 2 beers. Per hole. And they upped it per hole, so it's 18 now? Oh, okay, I didn't even know that rule changed. But no, but if you dedicated 40 hours a week to disc golf, don't you think you'd get really fucking good? I don't know about $10 million good, but
I have said this, like when we're on hole like 15 and I'm like 8 beers deep, and I'm like, dude, if I played every day, I could easily be pro. No, but honestly, disc golf, I think might be a little biased because we play all the time. I think this might be the sport of the future, and I think maybe he's like a pioneer. I don't know. A lot of people got to be jealous of this guy, right? You got to imagine the guy who's like 8th on the tour is like, fuck, dude, I got to go clock in at Walgreens tomorrow morning. Paul Macbeth is over here fucking, like, do you think he buys like a mansion, shows up to the course in like a fucking Range Rover and just shits on all the other guys?
He's probably like Tiger Woods. He's got just women lined up waiting for Paul Macbeth to finish that last chain, and then he walks off to 10 women.
He's kind of hot. He's kind of a good looking guy though, he's a good face of the sport.
Ben, I don't want to call you out. I know, we talked about this off podcast recently, but I know you left to go to California, right? As I was getting pretty dang good at froth myself. I think I far and away became the best player in our friend group after you left. I'm clearly a cold weather frother, as we learned this fall and winter. I think we're in for quite a showdown once it warms up here a bit and we're able to get back out there.
Yeah, Jeremy, it's not one of the reasons I came back. It's the reason I came back. I can't have you thinking you're the best frother. No one knows this besides us, but I left on top. I'm a warm weather frother, and that's about 6 months out of the year, Jer. So I think I got you beat. I think I'm still number 1 in our friend group.
I think if Jeremy played Paul Macbeth and it was under 32 degrees outside, he would fucking spank his ass.
It doesn't need to be that cold. Sub 50, and I'm in my A game, setting course records left and right.
I just worry about Paul Macbeth's mental health. This type of money, I don't want him going off track here. Is he going to still dedicate his life and his game? Like, is he going to dedicate his life to the game, to his craft? He's 30. I hope whoever's paying him this money, they don't regret this in 9 years when he's 39 and he can't even throw a disc anymore.
Way past his prime, dude. No fucking way he's still slinging that disc at 39 the way he was at 30. I think it'd be really funny if he just got like crazy into fucking like drugs and shit and just like burned out and just like, yeah, the money changed and he can't froth like he used to.
And you know what? It'll make for a great documentary that we will review on this podcast.
Absolutely.
Yes. All right. Well, until that documentary comes out, we've got a couple news topics we want to get into. And also, if you didn't see our tweet, we won't be reviewing Cherry, as we promised we would at the end of last week's podcast, partially because it's not out yet, at least not on Apple TV Plus. I also learned all this after starting my Apple TV Plus free trial, so not a great week to be me, but we carry on anyway. So let's get into our news topics. Bob, are we starting with you? What did you want to talk about?
Yeah, I mean, we are a movie podcast, so I guess there's no other way around it. We kind of got to talk about it. Did you guys see the images Zack Snyder put out of Jared Leto as the Joker? What did you think of it?
I did see it, and Zack Snyder apparently believes that all DC heroes and villains are analogs for Jesus Christ, apparently.
This is whack. He does look a lot like Jesus Christ. It's very weird.
Yeah, it's very Jesus-like. But I got to say, I love it. He looks way cooler than he did in the regular...
Suicide Squad?
Suicide Squad.
Yeah, Suicide Squad. Thank you. I thought that one was the worst take on it by far, especially coming off of a Heath Ledger. Like, I'll always think that'll always be my favorite. But this one does look way better, and I'm hoping that means... like good things to come. Hopefully the Snyder cut is actually better. I'm looking. It makes me more excited to watch it now. You disagree, Bob?
I think you're wrong because I think that the Jared Leto Joker from Suicide Squad is the worst version of Joker, and this is a close second worst version of Joker right here. Because I don't know. Maybe I don't understand because I've only seen bits and pieces of Suicide Squad. Where are his tattoos? When does this fit into the timeline? I was doing a little more research in the DCEU, try to see what the fuck's going on. I was like, I haven't seen many of these movies. I haven't seen Justice League. Then I was looking through it, and I've seen basically all of the movies in the DCEU. I haven't seen Wonder Woman, and I haven't seen Justice League. But other than that, I've seen every other one. And I'm just a little confused. Like, well, how the fuck does he fit in like this? He doesn't even look like the Joker to me, Jeremy. You said he looks like Jesus. He looks more like Jesus Christ. He looks less Jokery to me. I don't know if it's just like a still shot that they just put out there to like pump people up or something. But I don't know how we have Jared Leto as two different versions of the Joker, and both of them suck ass.
That's my only complaint, is that they are two different versions. I'm more high on this one, but it is weird because he already played one. They should have just had a totally different actor. I don't get that at all.
I think it was supposed to be the same version, but because
it is, but it looks. Yeah. I mean, not the same, different, like a different skin in the video game. Like that's kind of what it is. The same guy, same character. It's just he just looks pretty significantly different.
Yeah, the DCEU is just such a mess that you can't make sense of anything. Plus, they're like basically nullifying that first Suicide Squad movie with the new Suicide Squad movie that's coming out. So, who the hell knows what's going on there? Ben, you brought it up already, but we haven't even discussed this at all on or off the podcast. Are you guys excited for the Zack Snyder cut? Because we are going to watch that 4-hour movie for this podcast.
It's going to be 4 fucking hours?
Yep.
I didn't know that. Fuck.
Oh, Jeremy, I might have to take that week off, dude. I don't know. Because I have to watch the original Justice League before that, I would say so, right?
No, you're good.
I don't know. I'm not
don't think so?
rewatching it. I've only seen it once. I don't remember it, so
it's not very good. I was excited before I knew it was 4 hours long. If this was like 2 hours 20 minutes, I'd be excited just to see like how it actually turns out. Because like obviously
it's supposed to be good.
Yeah, you guys are the bigger Marvel people. Ever since I saw like Dark Knight, I've just been more fascinated with that like universe. And it's not even that universe. It's just I like Batman more than I like all of the Marvel like characters. So it is an embarrassment like how DC does it. Like they totally fuck up. Like they're trying to be Marvel and they are never going to be anywhere close. At least not for at least like a good 15, 20 years. And I don't think this like sets it up to like have a good run for DC. But I am more excited to see this movie than I would be if it was just just Suicide Squad coming out.
Do you like the Ben Affleck Batman?
No, not a Ben Affleck
Okay.
Batman.
I
guy.
don't really like it either.
I was okay
And-
with it. It's definitely not as good as Christian Bale in the Nolan trilogy, but of all the terrible things in the DCEU, I didn't think he was one of them.
I'm okay with it mostly because he had come out and said he played Batman for his kids. Like, how cool is that you can like be Batman for your children? That sounds cool as fuck.
That's pretty badass. I don't know. Jeremy, you mentioned it. The whole DCEU is so fucked anyway. Like, is this going to be like canon? Does this eliminate the original Justice League? I don't fucking know.
I don't know. Frankly, don't care.
Yeah, I don't think I do either. I mean, apparently we're going to watch the movie, but we'll have to see.
I'm more interested in like all the behind the scenes stuff on how the Snyder Cut actually came to be than I am about the movie itself. That being said, I'm still going to watch the movie just to see what that final product looks like.
I agree. Except on watching the movie, I don't really want to do that. But
oh well. I do know something you do want to watch, Bob. And that is a feature-length Avatar: The Last Airbender movie and new series of shows.
do I ever?
I'm going to read a little excerpt from the Deadline article on this topic. The Avatar: The Last Airbender franchise is set to get even bigger. Nickelodeon is launching Avatar Studios, a division designed to create original content spanning animated series and movies based on the franchise's world. The original creators and executive producers Michael DiMartino and Brian Konietzko will run the studio as co-chief creative officers. Avatar Studios will produce content for platforms including Paramount Plus and Nickelodeon, as well as third-party platforms and theatrical releases. The first project is an animated theatrical film that is set to start production later this year. This is some of the best news I think I could have ever asked for in the realm of TV and movies. I'm so excited for everything that I just read about.
Yeah, dude, it's going to be freaking awesome. How many times have we mentioned it on the podcast? Like, I mean, or I mentioned to you guys in person that I want to see like other avatars with like single like spin-off series, or maybe in this case it could be like a little spin-off movie about like Avatar Kyoshi or Avatar Roku, like these one-offs things in this universe we want to see more of. And they're like finally doing something like that. And I think that's all anybody ever asks for. Nobody really wants any live action shit. Nobody wants, this is what people want. This is going to be so fucking awesome. I hate that I have to wait for this. I wish like this announcement came out and they were just like, hey, by the way, that's what we've been doing the last 2.5 years. Here's all this new Avatar stuff. But it like sucks because now we're going to have to wait for it. And I'm just, oh man, I am so excited for this. I cannot wait. I almost want to start rewatching Avatar and Legend of Korra again.
I did.
Wow. Yeah.
Did you really?
I've just been like throwing it on to fall asleep to, so
Oh, that's good.
I'm not super actively watching it, but yeah, I figured I would just slowly start chipping away at it.
That's a good call. And Bob, you mentioned it. Like, don't even try to do the live action shit. And then I think it's Netflix that is trying to do the live action shit without these creators. And I'm almost like I'm intrigued to almost watch that just to bash it and just to hate it, because I can't wait until this stuff comes out. I'm not even like the biggest Avatar fan, but it's really good content, and it's not even geared towards us, but it weirdly is. And I'm so excited to see what they come up with. And I trust these people way more than I trust like anyone else who just tries to take the idea of the Avatar and change it into whatever they think it should be. And that's why I can't believe that they have like a movie studio. That's kind of wild to me that it's that popular. And I think they have to thank Netflix for that. But then again,
Absolutely.
because that's why it's so popular again. But then again, it's like Netflix is stupid for not like just giving them the keys to do everything.
Ben, you bring up two very good points in that. The first one I'll tackle is the original show was definitely geared toward us at the age we were when that came out. Definitely more kid focused. The first season in particular, I think they understand why the show is so popular now. It's because people our age are watching it. So I imagine everything they're going to make, especially the stuff for Nickelodeon, is going to be kid appropriate. But I do think that they understand that there's going to be people 20 plus, 30 plus watching it as well. So I'm excited about that prospect. And then you mentioned the Netflix show. They were going to do or they still are doing a live action adaptation of the original series. DiMartino and Konietzko were attached to it originally. they left the project over creative differences, and then apparently Nickelodeon just gave them an entire studio to run. I can't imagine a better scenario, leaving one show to then be offered to run a studio.
I think that's an upgrade.
Yeah,
I
sounds
would
like it.
say it's a massive upgrade, but I think Nickelodeon probably looked at Netflix and looked at the numbers that Korra and The Last Airbender were doing. I mean, Last Airbender was number one on Netflix, or at least in the top 10 for like what, 4 or 5 months? Like, in Legend of Korra was in the top 10 for an equal amount of time too. Like, they obviously see like this has a massive audience and people are obsessed with this show. And yeah, I mean, it's a no-brainer, right? Like, it's literally a license to print money. And I think it's weird, like the entire thing that happened with Netflix and all that, how they left the project over creative differences. It makes me not want to watch the live action adaptation when it comes out. I almost want to like boycott it because our boys aren't attached to it. Like it's gonna suck, right?
Not only
Without
is
those
it going to
two?
suck, but they left over creative differences, and now there's reports that for the live action adaptation, they're changing the characters' ages. Katara is going to be the older sibling at age 16, Sokka her younger brother at 14, Aang remaining 12. So clearly, they're just like
So
fundamentally changing aspects about the characters that will completely change their relationships and dynamics in a way
like
that will be completely untrue to the original series.
Exactly. And like the fans and viewers our age, now more than ever, like the viewer is smarter and they know what we want to know, basically, if it's good before we're going to watch it. Otherwise, we won't even start it because there's so much content out there. And so many people know this. And that's why it's so dumb to me that they would even go through with it without the original creators. Because like the majority of people are smart enough to realize, oh, God, that's going to be terrible. They just are going to assume it's like the movie, which most people think is terrible. And
Exactly.
it's just going to be a total bomb. And I can't wait for that. And then a little later, when all the actual real Avatar shit comes out, I can't wait for that to just crush it even more.
It's the distrust that the live action movie put on Avatar fans. Like, that sucked ass. So now, like, if you don't have these two guys attached, it's like all the validity of it just gets thrown out the window. Like, I just don't see this being good without them. And the whole creative differences thing, I know that was like a huge problem with the movie as well. So like, you just know this live action thing is going to suck. Don't give us any live action. Nobody's asking for it. Just keep doing animation and just do things in this world the way it's supposed to be done.
The only thing I can imagine checking out the live action series for is to just see how they do live action bending. Not saying that's enough to keep me interested in the show or watch all 10 episodes or whatever it is, but I think I'll at the very least, look at a YouTube clip of how they decide to actually make that look good on screen.
Well, if it's anything like the movie, then
that's what I mean.
Yeah,
I
I'm
hope it's
curious
better
too,
than that.
Like, if they make it look cool, that might make me watch an episode. But I just think if, like, just the fact of making Katara 16 and Aang 12, it's just going to be so off. It's gonna feel so different, and I don't think they're gonna get like a big majority of people who like the original Avatar to watch this new one.
Well, speaking of the original being for kids, making a new one, we got a pretty similar story for you, Ben.
Yeah, while that one excites me a little bit, this one really gets me going because the Mighty Ducks are back. It's not just another movie, Bob. I know you would want to watch a fourth one. You love the first three, but it's going to be, don't know how many episodes. Probably should have looked that up, but it's in a TV show. But there's a twist, guys. The Mighty Ducks are bad this time. I don't know. I don't know if I like that part. I don't like that part.
I fucking hate that. They just became the Hawks.
Yeah, they just become their worst enemy, basically. And I don't know what, like, are they going to be the Ducks then? I know you guys both watched the trailer. It still looks like Gordon Bombay might be doing a little drinking and driving, so I'd love to see that. But other than that, I don't know if I'm too excited about this. I love the ragtag. From the little bit of the trailer that you see of them playing hockey, it looks like the hockey at least looks a little more like they're actually playing hockey and not like they just threw a bunch of random people on skates who've never skated before.
The shot
so that
the puck doesn't leave the ice, yeah. But then the next shot they cut to, it's a top shelf goal.
Exactly, the worst shot in TV history. Like, I can't believe they didn't check that. But yeah, like, other than that, like, I'm a little bummed it's not like the Mighty Ducks are the underdogs. They're more of the powerhouse this time.
That doesn't make any sense. Yeah, the way that the trailer starts, even like the dickhead coach, I'm just like, okay, yeah, they won 10 state titles after Gordon Bombay makes them good. And yeah, they just become the Hawks, which is so stupid. I don't know. Lorelai Gilmore's in this. She's the, that's not her real actress name. But that's what
Lauren
I know
Graham.
her as.
Lauren Graham.
Yeah, Lauren Graham. Yeah.
Is that the mom?
I watched Gilmore.
Yeah.
I watched Gilmore Girls. That show's awesome.
The trailer
And
was
she's
very
playing
heavy
same
on
character.
the mom.
Yeah.
She's really funny, Jeremy.
I'm just like, her whole storyline looks like she needs to like, she's having trouble at work, and I'm like, do the kids on Disney Plus, are they gonna relate to this lady?
I don't know, because she looks like she's playing the exact same character that she was playing on Gilmore Girls. Like, it literally looks and sounds just, I mean, it's obviously the same actress, but like her tone of voice and the way she was talking and everything, I'm just like, that sounds literally just like Lorelai Gilmore. It sounds like she's playing the same character,
So,
which she's funny, so I think it'll be good.
so you don't think this involves range for her as an actress?
Absolutely not. I think she's typecast and she's going to be Lorelai Gilmore. And you know what? I wouldn't even be shocked if Rory Gilmore comes out in the middle of this thing too. It's Mighty Ducks Gilmore Girls crossover. How about that?
The one we've all been waiting for. Ben, can you clue me into some Mighty Ducks lore here? Because
I got you.
I've only seen the first movie once. And this trailer seems to imply that Gordon Bombay hates hockey and hates kids. That seems to be where we met him in the movie. His whole arc is coming around to liking hockey and liking kids. Does something happen in the next two movies to make him regress?
I can only comment really on the second one. I've only seen the third one once, I think. The second one, they're no longer the Ducks, basically. They're just Team USA, and the Hawks turn into Team Iceland. So the bad guys in the second one are Team Iceland, which is it's great. That one's better than the first one. I highly recommend it. And then this is where it's weird to me. This is why I don't love the third one. It takes a major step back. You are on like the junior American hockey team for the junior Olympics, basically. And then it turns into they're the JV team playing out, and they have to beat out their varsity team. It's like the varsity team talks like a lot of shit to them, I'm pretty sure, and they're still on JV. And they basically play one game at the end to prove who's better. Don't quote me on all this, but I'm pretty sure that's what happens. And in my head, I'm like, I don't care if they're like 2 years younger. They fucking are like apparently the best hockey team at their age in the world. They would beat kids who are just 2 years older. It's such a stupid plot. So I'm pretty sure after that, Gordon Bombay gets back into drinking heavily, hates hockey, and then needs Lorelai. What's her name, Bob? Needs her to snap him out of it.
Lauren Graham, aka Lorelai Gilmore. Yeah, I'm gonna assume there's a lot of drinking in this season. I think that's why he's like a crotchety old man in this. And damn, alcohol has aged Gordon Bombay. He does not look great in this trailer.
You know it's not going great when your career has come from a trilogy of movies that
in the
weren't
90s
really big
for children.
in the 90s, and now it's a TV show 30 years later. Oh, you love to see it.
Has he been in anything else
Can't comment
since
on
the 80s and 90s? I'm pretty sure like Mighty Ducks was the last thing he was in.
It really might have been. It makes me laugh so hard. I love it. I can't wait to watch this. I'm so excited. March 26th.
It's honestly it's gonna yeah, March 26th. It's honestly probably gonna be good though.
It makes me laugh, dude. It's so stupid.
I think it might be good, dude. I have a feeling it'll be good.
You know, whenever they do these remakes and reboots, a lot of people complain that, you know, it lacks the heart of the original. But as long as Gordon Bombay is an alcoholic, I think that they're going to capture that heart again in this series here.
Man. I can't even talk about this anymore. I'm literally crying from laughing about it.
Well, we'll get Ben's official review of the Mighty Ducks series. When was
We'll do
Ben?
like that. I hope it comes March 26th. I hope it's once a week, and we'll just have a little corner where I review the last episode.
We will absolutely do that. But in the meantime, because Cherry is not available to stream yet, we're jumping into 80s movies show and tell. If you're not familiar with when we do show and tell, basically we just set some criteria. We all watch a different movie. We come back together. We talk about those movies. And if you're thinking ahead, if you're a longtime listener, you are correct. We will be doing a best movie of the 80s at the end of the month. So we got a little bit more 80s to get through. We thought we'd widen our pool. You know, I was thinking back to when we do the other best of the decades, and ultimately when we try to come to a consensus, really whoever has seen the least amount of movies has the most power because we all vote for a movie that we've all seen. So I figured, hey, why don't we watch some more 80s movies? That way maybe we can get some different votes out there. Bob, you picked Escape from New York from 1981. I watched RoboCop from 1987. And Ben, you watched Midnight Run from 1988. And we're just going to take them in sequential order here. Bob, what did you think of Escape from New York?
Yeah, so as you mentioned, Escape from New York came out July 10th of 1981. Feels like it came out in 1971 on some of these scenes. The director is John Carpenter. It stars Kurt Russell, Isaac Hayes, who you might know as Chef from South Park, Donald Pleasance, Lee Van Cleef. Nobody really super famous in this movie besides Kurt Russell. He's obviously a pretty well-known actor, and this is sort of when he started to get big. But I'm going to read you guys just the plot, just the straight-up plot off of Google, and tell me you're not fucking intrigued after hearing this. In 1997, a major war between the United States and the Soviet Union is concluding, and the entire island of Manhattan has been converted into a giant maximum security prison. When Air Force One is hijacked and crashes into the island, the president is taken hostage by a group of inmates. Snake Plissken, played by Kurt Russell, a former Special Forces soldier.
Wait, Bob, I'm sorry. I'm cutting off. What's his name?
Snake Plissken.
All right, keep going. Sorry.
Snake Plissken, a former Special Forces soldier turned criminal, is recruited to retrieve the president in exchange for his own freedom. Bananas.
The name alone, I want to watch this movie.
Dude, let me tell you something about Snake Plissken. By the way, in the beginning of the movie, everyone's calling him, they're like, hey, Plissken, like calling him by his last name because like he was a soldier. He's like, it's Snake. Like he just, every time someone's like, Plissken, he's like, call me Snake. Then, for whatever reason, at the end of the movie, everyone's calling him Snake. He's like, call me Plissken. Super weird. But have either of you guys ever heard of this movie? Ever seen it, possibly, or know anything about it?
I've heard of it. I have not seen this movie. I did, however, recently watch Big Trouble in Little China, which is also John Carpenter, starring Kurt Russell. He goes by the name Jack Burton in that one. Everyone calls him
Snake.
Burton.
Call me Snake. Dude, it's so fucking awesome when he says that.
But so no, I haven't seen this movie, but I can imagine it probably has a similar style since it's, same director, same actor.
I've also never seen this movie. It's weird with Kurt Russell. I know he's super famous. I can name about 2 movies he's in. I didn't know this movie existed, and now that I'm looking it up, him in the eye patch alone and knowing his name is Snake, I want to watch this movie right now.
We'll get to his appearance in a second. I wanted to watch Terminator. I really wanted to watch Terminator for the 80s movies. I always wanted to see the Terminator. I love Arnold Schwarzenegger. Somehow I've never seen the original Terminator. And it's not on any streaming service. So I was like, fuck, let me search movies like the Terminator on Google. This is the first one that came up. So I decided to watch this because I've also heard of this movie before and I've always wanted to watch it. I heard it was really good. So I figured it's a no-brainer. It was on HBO Max. Decided to throw it on. Snake Plissken. Also, one of the greatest names in the history of fucking cinema. The clothes this man wears, Ben, you mentioned the eye patch. It's more than that. It's the 5 o'clock shadow. It's the long hair. It's literally a fucking eye patch. Like, how generic can you get? He only wears a muscle shirt or a leather jacket. One or the other. And it doesn't make... There's scenes where one's on and one's off, and I'm like, where's the jacket coming from? And he also wears the most ridiculous skin-tight pants. They're like some sort of leather or pleather material, and they have like white camo. They're fucking bananas. And then he's got these giant knee-high boots with like buckles on the front. Absolutely fucking crazy. And let me hit you with a little spoiler. Why he's called Snake. There's a scene where that skin-tight shirt comes off, that muscle shirt. He has a giant king cobra tattooed on his stomach, which you presume the tail goes all the way down to his genitals and his penis is the rattler. There's no other way of putting it. It's possibly the worst tattoo in the history of movies because it just looks like a big drawn-on sticker on his stomach. Hysterical. Oh man, yeah. Call me Snake. It's a wild fucking movie. Are you guys interested in watching this? You should do yourself a favor. Look up a picture of Snake Plissken, and I think you'll want to watch it.
I mean, I did enjoy Big Trouble in Little China. Kurt Russell also either wears like a tank top or a jean jacket, so it sounds like he's got a similar style there. Did you get any like Indiana Jones vibes from this movie? Because I was comparing the one I'd watched, Big Trouble in Little China, to Temple of Doom. I was wondering if those themes or that tone kind of carried over to this movie.
No, this is like a super alpha badass Indiana Jones. Not really heroic, just like badass. But it's interesting. The island of Manhattan being a prison.
It's a big ass island. That's a huge island.
So listen to this though. It's supposed to be every prisoner in the United States. So like if you go to prison, they just drop you off at the island, and you don't get out. Like once you go on, you don't get out.
So I'm confused, I guess.
So
why is the president on this island?
I'll let you with that. This isn't really a spoiler. This happens in the first like 10 minutes of the movie. Anyway, so the way it works is the island of Manhattan is there. You obviously have all the water around it, and then the surrounding land, like New Jersey and Brooklyn and whatever's on the bottom part, they just build these giant walls around them, and then all the bridges are like barricaded and like filled with landmines. And you can't like get out through the water because they have choppers going around. And if you're in the water, they just fucking mow you down. Basically the way prison works in this world. Everybody goes to this island. Like if you get arrested and go to fucking prison, you go to this island and you never get off. And you just basically go there to die. Is more or less what they treat this like. And basically the president is going to like a summit with like China and some other country, and he's flying near the island, and his plane gets hijacked, or Air Force One gets hijacked by these like radicals that want to like overthrow the government, and they take him hostage, and this got a little wild. They were trying to crash the plane into New York City. Now, as I'm watching it, you did see them going towards the Twin Towers, but I was just like, oh my god, holy shit. Did Escape from New York predict 9/11? But no, he crashed into like the building to the right of it, which was super weird. As I'm watching, I was like, oh my fucking god, I can't believe this is about to happen. But yeah, basically the plane crashes, the president gets out in his little pod or whatever, and he's on the ground. He gets, caught up by all the inmates inside Manhattan. And Kurt Russell, Snake, has got to go in and fucking get his ass.
Is this a potential sequel to Air Force One had Harrison Ford not been able to fight off the terrorist group that abducted him in that movie?
Very well could be. If these two worlds merge together, that would be goddamn interesting. I don't think that Harrison Ford would need Snake Plissken to rescue him, though. I think
he was good.
He'd be able to get out himself.
I'm looking up the cast right now. Is there's someone named the Duke in your movie?
Yes, that is Isaac Hayes. That's Chef.
That's incredible because they're in my movie in Midnight Run. The second main character is the Duke. So maybe our worlds are connected.
Isaac Hayes is in both movies?
No, the Duke is in both movies. Isaac Hayes is not in my movie. But no,
so
it's
Duke
just weird to me. Like it's just weird to me. Oh, okay. All right. I guess I'm okay with that. It's just weird that you would need a mayor for just now that's a prison. But it's also weird to me that they would send in Snake Plissken. They couldn't come up with a better plan to save the president.
No, apparently this guy is so fucking badass that he could fight off thousands of people on this island. And yeah, spoiler alert, he kind of fucking does. But it's the Duke is like the king of New York. Basically, he's the guy that runs everything because it's like a prison, but it's still New York. It's super run down and everything. And he just sort of like they make their own society on it, but it's like super scary and shit. I don't know. Pretty intense movie. Super enjoyable. I really did like it a lot. Recommend it.
What was Kurt Russell's one-liner in this movie that he calls back to at the end?
Oh, it's too big of a spoiler.
Oh damn! That's
I can't,
too bad.
dude. No, it's really good. I think it's really fucking good. Yeah, there's like a major point. Probably like the high point of his badassery is revolved around this one small plot. Yeah, I can't give it away because if I started talking about it, it would totally give it away. But I'll let you know. It's really badass. I guess the only other one that I can say without ruining it would be call me Snake.
Were there any other like 80s tropes that really stood out to you as being good or bad? Was there anything when you were watching it that you were like, yeah, this was made in the 80s?
The music.
Yeah.
Oh my fucking god. Oh, the other thing, yeah, the music is super like electronic and just generic 80s music. And there's a lot of like when they're flying planes and stuff, you see like the dashboard and it's very like 80s-esque, if you know what I mean. Yeah, those things really stuck out as being super 80s, but it was weird because this movie is supposed to, like, the year in this movie is 1997. Like, this is the dystopian future of 1997 is what the movie paints
16
it as.
years later. Well, they kind of got the plane thing right. That's kind of wild.
Yeah.
They're 4 years off.
Overall, though, you would recommend?
Yeah, it's got, I mentioned that sometimes it feels like a movie from the 70s. I mentioned that in my intro. It feels like it came out in 71. It's just, and you know how like older movies kind of have like, I don't know, not low points for, I can't even describe what I'm trying to say, but older movies feel different than more modern movies. Like almost not less action packed, but there's definitely more lulls. And there are some lulls in this movie. Like when there's tension and when things are happening, it's really good, right? And the action scenes are really good, but there's a lot of scenes where like, he's just like moving across New York or he's just like moving across whatever area they're in. And I'm just like, this is like weird. Like I'm almost like losing interest, but I think that's just how that movie, like what movies were like back then. Not saying back then, like it was so long ago, but it could definitely
it's
lose
40 years
some
ago at
people's-
this point.
Yeah, it could lose some interest. Like if you're watching it, you could definitely, there's moments where you might lose interest in it, but like the main points kind of bring you back in is the way I would describe it. And the special effects are a little whack too.
I just want to see Snake Plissken with the shirt off. I want to see the snake.
Dude, it's
Give the people what they want.
It's clearly his penis. It's clearly the Rattler is his penis. It's one of the greatest statues I've ever seen.
Well, if you take anything away from Bob's review, let it be that.
Yeah, but no, I say it's good. With definitely, it's only an hour 46 minutes, I think, was the runtime, and that's with credits and everything. So it's about 90 minutes of actual like screen time. I'd say check it out if you're looking for like a generic action 80s movie. This is more like sci-fi, but totally like whack concept and plot, and I think that's the driving point and what made me like this movie. Is just like the off the wall bonkers plot, and that's the best part about it. I'd say it's definitely worth watching if you're trying to broaden your 80s movie like vocabulary. I'd say check this out. This will probably be on my list when we count down the top 80s movies.
Well, you sold me. I think I'll add it to my list. I have been cruising through as many 80s movies as I can, including RoboCop, which I watched for this week's podcast. RoboCop came out on July 17th, 1987, directed by Paul Verhoeven, written by Edward Neumeier and Michael Miner, starring Peter Weller, Nancy Allen, Dan O'Herlihy. Not sure if I said that right. It made $53.4 million in 1987. I think that's somewhere near 6 or 7 trillion adjusted for inflation.
Yeah, I just did the math. That adds up.
But only good enough for number 14 in 1987. But RoboCop, of all the 80s movies I've watched, and I told you guys I'm probably like 10 deep at this point in the last couple of weeks, might have been the one I had the most fun watching. It's just, for a lot of the reasons Bob liked Escape from New York, I could echo and say that's why RoboCop is good. And I think I found my new favorite genre, which is like 80s and 90s like sci-fi action movies, because I also watched The Running Man and Demolition Man, which is a 90s movie recently, and I think this is it. Something about these movies, they're just fun, not necessarily always like great movies, objectively, but I super enjoyed this. Are you guys familiar with this movie outside of the title?
I've wanted to see it for like ever. Yeah, I've never seen this movie, but I've always wanted to, and I'm fairly familiar with it.
Yeah, I only know the title, and it's funny. Bob had mentioned he looked up movies similar to Terminator, and I got to think RoboCop is a little closer to Terminator than Escape from New York.
It is, and that was also on the list as well. And when I saw it, I wanted to watch it, but Jeremy had already said that he was watching it, so I was.
That's fair.
Yeah, as soon as Bob said he Googled movies similar to Terminator, I was like, I haven't seen Terminator myself, but I gotta think RoboCop is high on that list.
Yeah.
But I also played the theme. Super awesome theme for RoboCop, and something I love about this movie and movies of this era is that they're not afraid to just play that theme over and over and over again.
Oh, yeah.
And I got pumped for it every single time it came on. But just some general, short synopsis, nothing too spoilery here, but basically we're introduced to our bad guy. His name is Clarence Boddicker, and he's a cop killer. This all takes place in Detroit, and the police department has been privatized and has a contract with Omni Consumer Products. That's kind of your big bad guy in this movie, is this company. And Alex Murphy, who's played by Peter Weller, he's a new cop, gets paired up with Ann Lewis, who's played by Nancy Allen. And basically they come across this Clarence guy. Clarence and his gang basically kill him, but he's not quite dead. This OCP company does this experiment on him and turns him into RoboCop. Pretty awesome. The RoboCop suit and everything looks pretty damn good, all things considered, considering how old this movie is. But there's also a scene where they introduce, this OCP company introduces their police drone, which is the project they wanted to put out before moving forward with RoboCop. It's a drone, no pilot or anything. It's all remote controlled. And those effects don't hold up very well. It looks like claymation in the middle of this live action movie. I mean, it's fun.
Damn.
And you know what you're getting into and everything, but that the demo of this drone is so funny because it's they have this guy point a gun at it, and the drone is put down the gun, you have 20 seconds to comply. And the guy puts the gun down, but the drone malfunctions and just rips this dude apart, just shooting him nonstop. And I'm like, oh, they did it. They nailed police brutality with this drone. I don't think that's the message they were going for in this movie.
It looks like our movies are predicting 9/11 and police brutality, man. What were they doing in the 80s? They just could see right into the future.
Honestly, smart on them to program that, because if you're a civilian, you want your cops to be consistent. Even if they're killing people, you just want to know what you're getting into.
Exactly. And some of that negligence, I guess, carries over because one of the best scenes in this movie is as soon as RoboCop becomes RoboCop, and that happens pretty early in the movie, they just let him go. They're like, okay, RoboCop, go be a cop. And he gets his own cop car and starts driving around, and with no monitoring or anything, they have a tracker on him, but there's no one there. He's basically sentient, can do whatever he wants. And then there's just this whole scene of him stopping crimes, but all he does is he'll go up to someone committing a crime and he'll go, "You're under arrest," and then beat the absolute shit out of them and then not arrest them. He only arrests one person in this whole movie, but he says "you're under arrest" to 5 different people. He just beats the shit out of everyone. It's pretty fucking funny.
That's fucking exactly like it is now.
Hey, Jeremy, I have a question.
Yeah.
Is this the prequel to Outside the Wire and using robots instead of humans? Is this related to that movie?
I guess there is crossover in the sense that they just build this machine and then let it do whatever it wants. But no, I don't know that it's a direct prequel. They may have stolen some ideas, though. I think you're onto something. But yeah, there's the other great part about the way that the narrative moves forward is the real conflict is when RoboCop starts to regain his memory from being Alex Murphy. That happens pretty quick, and I think a lesser movie would have taken longer to get there. But pretty quickly, RoboCop starts having these flashbacks and then just decides, I'm gonna start investigating what these memories mean, and try to it all leads back to the big bad guy who kind of put him in this situation in the first place. And I think it might be opposite of what Bob was saying, where there were lulls. I felt like this movie it kind of skipped the lulls. Like, you could see where they might have wanted to put more story beats for things to make a little more sense, but they knew what they had on their hands, which was just kind of a fun action movie. So they either didn't even have those in the script to begin with, or those were left on the cutting room floor, which I appreciated. But yeah, the only other great scene, if you're not sold already, is kind of near the end. The bad guys get access to like military grade weapons, and they end up with these giant rifle looking things, but apparently they shoot grenades because everything they shoot explodes. And as soon as these weapons are introduced, there's like 5 to 10 minutes dedicated to these guys just shooting cars and then blowing up. And every time it happens, you're like, surely that was the last car they're going to blow up for this scene. And then it just keeps going. And I'm like, after like the 5th car explodes, I'm like, are they just going to keep blowing up cars for the sake of blowing up cars? It feels so long. And I'm just like, what are they doing? But I don't know. It was just fun.
That sounds like they just discovered they could blow up cars and put it in a movie, and they were like, no, we can't just do one. We got to show like 10.
I don't know if Paul Verhoeven was like, we've got an extra $3 million in the budget that we haven't done anything with. Let's just blow up some more cars. And
then someone's like, Paul, we've already done 5. I don't think we need another.
Let's do 5 more.
Give me another car.
But yeah, I don't know. Do you guys have any questions about RoboCop? Are you intrigued? Are you sold? Are you gonna watch it yourself?
No, I actually tried to not listen to what you were saying because I want to watch the movie. And like, I don't think you weren't giving spoilers, obviously, but like, I wanted to watch this movie for a while now, and just us bringing up the 80s topic is like reinvigorated me, and I'm probably gonna watch it pretty soon. I can't wait. Sounds fucking awesome from your description too, so I know it's gonna live up to the hype.
Bob, you'll appreciate this one. I know you rarely do anything sober, but I imagine if you're like 4 to 6 beers deep,
oh hell yeah,
this is gonna be a great experience for you.
That's how I feel like is the only way I would watch this movie. From your description, if I would just sit down and watch this on a Wednesday night, I'd be bored as shit and be like, I want to watch something else. This seems like a good Saturday afternoon movie when you're like just about to start drinking, and then you go out, you just hang out with people. Because I don't think this doesn't sound like a great movie, like you mentioned, but it sounds like a fun movie to watch.
I think that would be the best setting, is especially if you COVID compliant, of course, but if you can get some boys together, put some brewskis down, throw on RoboCop, I think you're set for a great rest of your day.
Is there a RoboCop drinking game?
Ooh, I got to imagine the movie's been out long enough. Someone's come up with one, but I can't think of anything off the top of my head. There is I asked you, Bob, if there was like a good catchphrase, and I also, based on Big Trouble in Little China, assumed Kurt Russell had a catchphrase he came back to at the end of the movie. But Peter Weller, both pre and post being RoboCop, often says, "Dead or alive, you're coming with me." So I don't know that it would be enough to get you drunk, but maybe every time he says that, take a shot. That could at least get you a little tipsy.
Maybe we could just get drunk and watch the movie together and try to figure it out.
That is when you do your best thinking, Bob.
That's true.
All right. Any parting questions, or should we move on to Ben's movie here?
I'm ready for my movie.
Ben, hit us with a little bit of Midnight Run.
Yeah, so Midnight Run. I'll give you real quick why I decided to watch this movie first. I had just watched Taxi Driver before, so I was in a Robert De Niro kick, and I think I'm going to stick with that. This movie came out July 20th, 1988, directed by Martin Brest, written by George Gallo. This stars Robert De Niro. Where do I got this? Robert De Niro, Charles Grodin, Dennis Farina, and John Ashton. This movie was so fun to watch. It's comedy, it's action. Have you guys seen like Planes, Trains, and Automobiles?
No.
Or the more recent version, a movie like this would be Due Date with Robert Downey Jr. Did you see that one at all?
It's going to be a second no from me.
Well, it's like that. So it's like those movies in the sense where like they basically have to get across country in a certain amount of days. Those other movies are about like being in time to be home with your family for like either the birth of your kid or Thanksgiving. This is Robert De Niro is a bounty hunter, and he has to get Charles Grodin back in this movie. He's called the Duke, back in time. He's in New York. He has to get him back to Los Angeles in time for his court hearing because the bail bonds person put up his bail, and that was $450,000. So he's going to lose that money if the Duke isn't back in time. So he says, De Niro, I'll give you $100,000 if you can get him back by Friday. So he's got 5 days to get him back, and then all hell breaks out when he gets to New York, and he finds Charles Grodin immediately. He finds the Duke. It's not about like trying to find him. It's about their journey back. And there's another bounty hunter who's also on the case. Like the guy who hired De Niro also hired someone else, and they compete against each other the whole time to try to get this guy back. And it's basically them one-upping each other, but it's always De Niro getting the upper hand. And then also, so this guy, his crime was he stole money from the mafia and he donated to charity, but he stole the money like illegally, so that's why he's going to jail. But then also the FBI wants him because they want to question him so they can get the big mob guy. So that's kind of the whole plot. Like there's so many people after this guy, and De Niro has to like kind of keep him alive to get his money. And then they kind of grow closer and closer, but they hate each other. It's kind of like they hate each other at first, but it's more so because they just annoy each other, but then they grow to like each other. It's honestly so funny. Jared, I think you would love this more than maybe Bob. There's a lot of dry humor in this, and it's there's some great scenes between just Robert De Niro and Charles Grodin. I love this movie so much. It's going to be a movie I come back to again and again.
Yeah, this one wasn't even like really on my radar. Like I'd seen the title, but I hadn't even really considered watching it until you picked it, and then my dad also said it was really good. So I think this is another one I'm gonna have to bump up the list and make it a priority in the next couple weeks here.
Yeah, I love De Niro. Like, I'm a huge De Niro guy. And you mentioned the mafia a little bit when you gave us like your quick rundown of the movie. How because I feel like De Niro is just obligated to be in movies about the mafia.
Yes.
How like heavy into the mafia is this really involved, or is it like a side note?
No, it's probably a good like 25% of the movie. They show like the mob trying to hunt him down, and like the backstory. I don't want to get too deep into it. It doesn't really spoil anything, but the backstory is like De Niro used to be a cop in Chicago, and the same mob guy who wants to kill this accountant, the Duke, like had previously offered De Niro money to get on the payroll or whatever, and he said no to it. So it's kind of like he's going for payback too, but he's also not, because he's trying to turn in the accountant to like therefore in theory then the accountant just keeps saying, as soon as I get turned in, then I'm going to be killed. And he's like, no, I just want my $100,000, because the whole time he just wants the $100,000 to open a restaurant. And because like he just wants to have a normal life. He doesn't want to be doing this stuff anymore. But the one good scene is they're on a train, and De Niro like he finally breaks, and Charles Grodin, aka the Duke, keeps asking him like, how much money are you getting for me? Says like $100K. I'm gonna open a restaurant, and then he's like, I really advise you not to. And he goes, you're not my accountant. He goes like, well, if I was your accountant. And it's a really good dry humor scene, and it's really fun. Like that's one of the best scenes. But yeah, I think De Niro in every movie has to somehow be related to the mob. So they made sure that he fulfilled that for sure.
I think that is a contractual obligation in his contract if he signs on to a movie.
Yeah, I think they even do that in Meet the Fockers and Meet the Parents. I'm pretty sure it's somehow mafia related.
It sounds interesting though. Like I've never heard of this movie, right? Like I've never even crossed my mind. And it's from the way you talked about it, it does sound like it's something I would like.
And
or maybe not as much, but I mean, it sounds interesting.
I think you would like it because it's De Niro in like a new light. He's not playing such a he plays the serious role to Charles Grodin's like annoying character. Like he plays it straight. But yeah.
I like that.
Yeah.
Because like you look at De Niro as like a type. I used to always look at him as like a typecast guy. I was like, he always plays a mobster. He always plays a mobster. But then like we saw King of Comedy that we reviewed for the podcast, and he does not play a mobster in that. Like it's funny that you see like this guy has so much more range than you really thought, just because he's in so many movies about the mob. And I feel like this could be another example of that. This guy does a lot more.
Absolutely. After watching King of Comedy recently, Taxi Driver, and now this, I think he's like, before I just knew he was like a famous actor and I knew he was like a well-respected actor. I now think he's like one of the top 5 actors of all time. He like this dude's range is unreal. He's funny in this, like by playing it straight. I would say both of you guys should check this out. Jeremy, because I think you would like the humor. Bob, because I think you would get a different side of De Niro. I think you guys would both find some good things out of this movie.
I'm super interested in it. Like I said, I'll definitely
Me
be
too.
making this a priority. Were there? I'll ask you the same thing I asked Bob. Were there any 80s tropes or anything that stood out to you as making this movie particularly 80s, or was it more of a timeless movie? Would you say?
Yeah, like Bob, the music is very 80s-ish. And as I was watching this, it was kind of hard for me to decipher if I thought it was cool. Like, was it kind of making a comeback? And then halfway through the movie, I was like, no, it's got a couple more years. This is not great music right now. But other than that, like the only thing that really stands out is like the phones. Like I think a lot of like old movies, that's where you pick it up. They don't have obviously cell phones. It's a lot of pay phones. And that's the biggest part because a lot of their problems would be solved with some cell phones. But that's why I almost think like movies like this kind of hold up better because they didn't just have an easy out like, oh, let me just use my cell phone. Like they really had to, like it was a lot harder to even just go from New York to Los Angeles like in the 80s than it would be to do that now.
Well, I mean, we all seem interested in all our movies. We might just need to get together, put a little triple feature on. A little Escape from New York, RoboCop, Midnight Run, triple header.
I feel like when we do this stuff normally, like we all seem like we're interested in the movies, but we're all just lying. This time I actually want to watch RoboCop and I want to watch this movie as well. Like, that's the first time I can honestly say it.
Well,
I agree with that.
The last two times we did show and tell, the first one being, a pre-aired episode, one that never came out, you guys both picked terrible movies for no apparent reason. So I'm glad that you guys picked something that you enjoyed this time.
What was that? What was that one again?
You picked
HBO Max.
Emil and the Detectives when we did Disney Plus, and Bob picked something that I don't think was even part of the criteria, and he said it was terrible because it was like 45 minutes long.
You're getting a bit mixed up, Jared. I picked Emil and the Detectives when you guys got like computer wore tennis shoes.
Yeah,
that's when it happened.
Disney Plus movies.
Yeah, and then when we did it for real, the episode that came out when we did Turner Classic Movies, Bob picked some piece of garbage that he hated.
The corpse. Wait, there's something
The
the corpse
corpse.
says. I don't know. The missing corpse.
that shitty fucking movie.
It wasn't even on HBO Max. I don't know what I was watching. It was fucked up.
So I'm glad you guys chose movies you were interested in and convinced everyone else sounded interesting as well this time. But yeah, I think that'll do it. Are you guys excited for the best of the 80s decade coming up? Are there any other movies on your 80s hit list in the next couple of weeks?
Terminator.
Trading Places.
All right, so those are two good movies. I got like I said, I've already got like 10 in the bag, but I think Top Gun and Full Metal Jacket are two that I'm definitely keeping an eye out for.
Shout out to Gary. Isn't he a Full Metal Jacket guy?
He is.
If I remember.
He is. I'm sure he'll have plenty of thoughts on this podcast as well as the best of the 80s one to come. And speaking of what's coming up, we're actually keeping it 80s next week. We're going with Ghostbusters. Came out in 1984. If I'm not mistaken, you guys have never seen Ghostbusters. Am I remembering that correctly?
Yep, not all the way through. I've only seen the first 20 minutes.
Yeah, I've also never seen it, so I am excited to watch it.
You guys are maniacs. I don't know how you've never seen this movie. Great movie.
And we started a movie podcast. Good thinking.
Yeah, well, we prove in at least 41 different times now that we are not qualified to host a movie podcast here, but at least this is another one we can get the punch card for. I'm looking forward to it. In the meantime, thank you for listening, and remember,
Homie Snake.
see you next week.